So the NFL draft has always been a very fascinating process to me. At its core, the NFL draft provides every NFL team and their fan base with an opportunity to turn things around if need be, or bolster what they already have to compete with future competition. And you as a fan rarely walk away from the NFL draft unhappy or unsatisfied with the results, and you tend to feel, if anything, more confident in your team moving forward. However, if given some time, this feeling can change drastically. You see, not every prospective player is necessarily cut out for the NFL, and in today's video I want to shine the spotlight on a certain Mitchell Trubisky. The Bears-Trubisky relationship has been very intriguing since day one, with it only getting more interesting as time goes on. And today I want to delve even further into this relationship with the end goal of determining whether Mitchell Trubisky is capable of reviving a career that is supposedly dead in the water as things currently stand. But before we get to that, I want to very quickly take a second to mention that only a small percentage of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you do end up enjoying this video, please do consider subscribing. And with that being said, let's get started. North Carolina's Mitchell Trubisky was taken with the second pick of the 2017 NFL Draft, and this came after the Bears had actually released their previous franchise quarterback, Jay Cutler, who's a player I definitely have to make a video on sometime soon. That said though, Trubisky would show out in the preseason and ultimately go on to win the starting job over Mike Glennon. In the season that followed, Trubisky would pass for 2,200 yards, 7 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and complete almost 60% of his passes, leading the team to a 4-8 record through 12 games. A relatively lackluster performance, especially given the fact that the Chicago Bears had to trade up to draft him, along with the fact that they had taken him over Deshaun Watson, who was twice as productive while only playing half the games Trubisky did. But Trubisky wasn't the issue. The Chicago Bears would go on to fire their head coach John Fox after a season that saw them go 4-12, and would go on to hire Matt Nagy, a disciple of Andy Reid, who had taken another quarterback from the 2017 NFL Draft. We'll get to that. And as a result, the 2018 NFL season would be a stark contrast from that of the 2017 NFL season, seeing the Bears flip a 4-12 record into a 12-4 record, which was good enough to take the NFC North. The Bears had a ruthless defense spearheaded by Khalil Mack, who was acquired that offseason, and a solid offense to help bolster that defense. And in Trubisky's case, well, he was firing on all cylinders, and many had high hopes for the Bears entering the 2018 NFL playoffs. And in a game where neither the Eagles nor the Bears offenses could seemingly get their feet under themselves, Trubisky would still manage to give the Bears a chance to hit a game winner. However, as we all know, the Bears season would infamously end with a double doink, which would send the team packing. Even then though, there was still an air of confidence surrounding the Chicago Bears heading into the 2019 NFL season. They had one of their best defenses since the '85 Bears, a competent quarterback who was primed to have a breakout season, and a head coach who was named 2018's NFL Coach of the Year during the NFL honors. There was a lot of potential, so what happened? Simply put, the Bears would go on to implode during the 2019 NFL season, finishing at 8-8. The defense seemingly lost its punch, fans were already calling for Matt Nagy's job, and that competent quarterback who was set to take a major leap? Well, that never happened, and as it stands now, the future of the Bears' quarterback position is uncertain. Many wonder whether Mitchell Trubisky will be able to revive his career, while others have simply seen enough and are opting to write him off as a bust. And I hate to be a contrarian, but personally I see this as all one huge knee-jerk reaction. I think Trubisky is fully capable of reviving his career, and you know what, I'll take it a step further. I don't even think he's in as grave a spot as many like to make him out to be in. The NFL is a league that's predicated around the question of, what have you done for me recently? And despite the fact that Trubisky helped lead the Bears to their first playoff berth since 2010, recently he has admittedly struggled. But I feel as if these struggles are, at least to an extent, being both magnified and unjustly blamed on him. Public perception of Trubisky has shifted significantly, and a large part of that shift has to do with the 2017 NFL Draft. Mitchell Trubisky was selected over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. The fact that this is used to somehow criticize Trubisky, in my opinion, is absolutely ridiculous. This is not a valid criticism of Trubisky, and the fact that there are people who think it is simply befuddles me. It's also a narrative that lacks a ton of context. Mahomes was looked at as a risky boomer-bust prospect. which is why Andy Reid took him. The Chiefs were already perennial playoff contenders with Alex Smith at the helm, and Mahomes did need time to develop, but Andy Reid was capable of fostering that environment for him. Let me ask you, do you think Mahomes would have actually been able to develop the same way that he did under Andy Reid and Alex Smith, but instead under John Fox while being mentored by Mike Glennon? Absolutely not. Chicago would have been an awful environment for Mahomes, and he would have never developed into the player that he is today. Then you have Deshaun Watson, and the knock on Watson was his unrefined passing game, something we, to an extent, still see today. The knock on Trubisky was his lack of experience because he only had 1 year as a full-time starter, but coming out of college, he was looked at as the safest quarterback prospect from a mechanical standpoint. And with Jay Cutler out and John Fox on his last rope, he needed to play that safe game, so he drafted Mitchell Trubisky. Fact is, there is no formula behind the NFL draft. You can't predict who's going to fail nor who will succeed, and criticizing Trubisky for a decision that was never his to make in the first place it's stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous. A lot of this criticism as well only started in 2019, however, so what happened? I mean, Deshaun Watson was balling out and Mahomes won the MVP in 2018, so why wasn't Trubisky being scrutinized then? Well, he wasn't being scrutinized in 2018 because the Bears were good in 2018. They weren't good in 2019, so he became a target. And while Trubisky did take a noticeable step back in 2019, you simply can't put all the blame on him for the team's overall regression. It's nearly impossible for a single player to be the cause of an entire team's regression, and in the case of Trubisky and the 2019 Chicago Bears, it isn't all his fault. And to prove it, we need to take a look at the Chicago Bears offensive line. In 2018, PFF ranked the Chicago Bears offensive line as the 11th best in the league. However, statistically, they had the second best pass blocking efficiency in the entire league. This, of course, helped Mitchell Trubisky thrive under Matt Nagy's offense, an offense that is heavily centered around the RPO and deep ball, similar to the offense that of his mentor Andy Reid. The Bears O-line being the second best in pass blocking efficiency gave Trubisky a ton of time in the pocket to make a play under this offense. So what changed? Well, PFF ranked the Chicago Bears 2019 offensive line as the 25th best offensive line in the league, a big step back. The biggest step back, however, came in the form of the line's pass blocking capabilities, where they took a ridiculous step back. They went from the second best pass blocking offensive line in the entire league to an offensive line which had an average time to pressure of 2.37 seconds, which ranked 29th in the league. Second best pass blocking line in the entire league to the third worst in the entire league. And in an offense that heavily utilizes the RPO and deep ball, when your offensive line only gives you an average of 2.37 seconds to act, as a quarterback, you're gonna have a bad time. It's just there's no way around it. And this huge drop in offensive line play can be attributed to key pieces going down with injury, along with the shifts in the lineup within the offseason. Ultimately, though, the Bears' offensive line took a major hit for one reason or another, and as a result, Trubisky's play took a major hit, along with Matt Nagy's coaching. A scheme that worked so well in 2018 no longer worked in 2019, and that bogged the team down significantly. Now, Matt Nagy did make attempts to mitigate this, but expecting Trubisky to do things he simply doesn't do well will never work. With the loss of their stout offensive line came the loss of their ability to play to Trubisky's strengths, which led to his weaknesses being put on blast for the whole world to see. Ultimately, this shift in public perception of Mitchell Trubisky came as a result of the implosion of the offense as a whole. O-line play was off, coaching was off, and of course quarterback play was off, and yet with all of that being said, Trubisky is forced to shoulder almost all of the burden because he's the quarterback, he's the leader of the team. And then you mix in the whole you could have had Mahomes or you could have had Deshaun Watson narrative, and it just becomes a recipe for disaster. With all of that said though, no, Mitchell Trubisky is not a bust. I mean, not yet at least. The Chicago Bears simply had a down year. A lot of teams have down years, but their down year came as a result of a concoction of issues on the offensive side of the ball. The blame for this down year should not rest solely on the shoulders of Mitchell Trubisky, and while he hasn't performed as well as Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes in his first 3 seasons, that doesn't mean that he's a bust. Now, I'm not trying to say that Mitchell Trubisky should be absolved of all wrongdoing. He was wildly inconsistent and fell susceptible to a large amount of self-sabotage last year, but that said, the Bears have more issues on the offensive side of the ball than just Trubisky. And you could easily argue that a large portion of Trubisky's troubles are actually a byproduct of the actual issues at hand, not the main root cause of the issues. To write Trubisky off as a bust at this point in his career all because of one down year is a simple knee-jerk reaction. And it's one of the bigger knee-jerk reactions I've seen in recent years when it comes to the NFL. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that the Chicago Bears will see a significant rebound in 2020 because I don't believe that the Bears have actually properly addressed their issues by bringing Nick Foles in and thus taking on the biggest backup contract in the league. If anything, that goes against addressing their issues, that makes their issues worse because that money could have gone towards, rebolstering their offensive line or grabbing a new target for Trubisky that isn't an aging tight end in Jimmy Graham. If anything, the Bears have only made things worse for themselves by falling victim to the media's knee-jerk narrative surrounding Trubisky. This idea that he's somehow the only thing holding the Bears back when it simply isn't the case. I believe Mitchell Trubisky is capable of rebounding if the proper pieces are placed around him. People are so quick to write players off, and I feel Trubisky at this point is a prime example of this. It's a very overdramatic approach to take, and it creates many false narratives. Now, to clarify, I'm not denying that Trubisky may just end up being a bust. It's definitely possible. I just believe it's too early to make that decision, and a lot of people writing him off are doing so based on a knee-jerk reaction that came as a result of a collective down year across the entire team. At the end of the day, I don't think it's all doom and gloom for Chicago. But hey, that's just my opinion. Before I go though, let me ask you, do you think it's possible for Mitchell Trubisky to rebound in 2020?